Hokage give me a face. Dragon Ball, Chapter 81-100. Chapter 81-Super Saiyan. Seeing the two people who flew out, Yizan's expression instantly became very confused. Yizan never thought that Buma and Chi-Chi would not listen to their words and ran out at this time. Let's go. Yizan took a deep breath and shouted at them. The anxiety in his heart was already written on his face. Forget it. Now, I can only use chakra. Yizan didn't have any hesitation this time. To himself, Yizan could be ruthless, but to his women, Yizan really didn't want them to experience the horror of life and death. Although he could revive them, the life and death brought horror will definitely have a great psychological shadow. When Yizan was about to use chakra, Bulma and Chi-Chi saw that Yizan was being controlled, and the expressions on their faces were even more anxious. The two launched an attack desperately, blasting a shock wave from their hands and rushing towards Frieza. The two now have several hundred points of combat power, and they can also use some primary attack methods and powers. However, the two shock waves formed by only a few hundred combat power were very weak. When they hit Frieza's face, it was like a scratch, and there was no damage at all. However, this also aroused Frieza's anger. He turned his head and glanced at Kiki and Bulma with murderous intent in his eyes. He raised his hand, and a powerful shock wave was formed. No! Yizan shouted, and his heart was burning with unprecedented anger. After coming to Dragon Ball World for so long, the two girls, Chi-Chi and Buma, were deeply liked by Yizan. This was the first time Yizan felt after coming to Dragon Ball World. Nervous. Even if he was about to kill himself when he met Frieza before, Yizan felt nothing. Death was nothing to Yizan. Whether it was the world of Hokage or the world of One Piece, there were some ways to change life and death, but for the two women, Yizan really didn't want them to experience the horror between life and death. Boom! The powerful ray of light blasted out, and Bulma and Kiki had no room for resistance at all, and were instantly enveloped by a powerful shock wave. Bang! With a loud bang, the shock wave formed a violent explosion mushroom cloud, and the terrifying aftermath continued to shoot in all directions. Just the multiple explosions generated by the aftermath turned the earth with a radius of 10,000 meters into powder. Noisy. A golden lightning suddenly burst out from the mushroom cloud. Frieza frowned slightly, his eyes full of doubts. Zzz. One golden lightning, two golden lightnings, and more golden lightnings spread wildly around. Frieza took a half step back vigilantly, and had a bad premonition in his heart. Boom! The mushroom cloud exploded, and golden lightning filled all the space. Yizan was suspended in midair and stared at Frieza with indifference, holding two girls in his arms. At this time, the Saiyan's blood was finally activated by Ultimate's anger, and at this moment, it was finally awakened. The violent power was drawn from those blood, and huge changes took place around Yizan's body. A golden aura erupted from Yizan's body instantly, turning into a golden light Jinchuriki column, directly breaking through the entire sky, and all the auras were stirred and trembling. And Yizan's eyes and hair also changed in an instant. With golden pupils, the hair stood upside down and turned golden, and there was a golden aura all over his body. Blonde, this is... At that moment, Frieza's pupils shrank sharply, thinking of an ancient legend, Super Saiyan. How is it possible? How can you be a Super Saiyan? In the face of Frieza's shock, Yizan did not explain. His eyes were full of infinite anger and murderous intent, and he vowed to smash Frieza's body into 10,000 pieces. Kill! Yizan shouted loudly, and his voice turned into a beam of light and instantly killed him in front of Frieza. Frieza's face changed greatly, and instantly became extremely ferocious. What about the Super Saiyan? Go to hell! As he said that, Frieza's right hand was quickly raised, and a powerful force exploded instantly, condensing an incomparably powerful energy in the air, causing the surrounding space to become distorted with this powerful force. Drink! Just before this attack fell, Yizan shouted abruptly, and an unprecedented impact force poured out of his body, covering every corner of his body. Ah! Frieza only felt like he was hit by something, and was instantly knocked 10 kilometers away. Even approaching Yizan's side would feel very stressful. Frieza could only back away, flew far away, and looked down at Yizan. What a powerful force! Is this a Super Saiyan? Far away, Frieza's eyes widened in shock. After transforming, Yizan was already powerful enough to frighten him. He felt terrified. This is the power of a Super Saiyan. Yizan looked down at himself and was equally shocked. He didn't expect that at this time, he really became a Super Saiyan, and the power in his body emerged like a flood, which was completely unimaginable and unprecedented for him. Not only that, he felt that his body seemed to have inexhaustible power. As long as he wanted to do it, he could destroy a planet with a single wave. Standing high in the sky, the golden aura from Yizan's body quickly spread out, shocking Vegeta, who had not been killed in the distance. Super Saiyan. Can't be wrong. This must be a Super Saiyan. But, how could it be? How could he be a Super Saiyan? I should be a Super Saiyan. As a Saiyan Prince, Vegeta didn't even get this powerful power, but Yizan mastered it. Yizan didn't know Vegeta's reaction. At this moment, he quickly approached Frieza's direction. Yizan could sense that his combat power broke through 100 million in an instant. Such a terrifying combat power was already the top in the entire universe. Exist. Seeing Yizan flying, Frieza was very scared, but he couldn't show it. He was the fearsome King Frieza. His face became very ferocious, and Frieza shouted angrily, "I am the Emperor of the universe, I will not lose, go to hell." Along with the angry roar, Frieza exploded all the power in his body, condensing a powerful shock wave around him, the light reaching hundreds of meters, and the steady stream of power all gathered in it. Chapter 82-Frieza dies. From a distance, it seemed as if there was a huge sphere of light in the sky that was about to explode at any time, blowing up the entire Namek planet. Ha ha! Frieza sneered, holding the ball of light in his right hand, shouted loudly, and shouted hideously, "Yizan, disappear with Namek." Whoosh! With the shouting of his life, Frieza slammed the huge ball of light in his hand downward, and the powerful light impacted like a beam of light, flying towards Yizan. Yizan, who has become a Super Saiyan, smiled slightly in the face of this attack, and looked at the beam lightly. At the moment when the beam was about to add to his body, he shouted loudly, using the power in his body, instant burst tilled out. A golden ball of light condensed in front of Yizan. It was even bigger than Frieza's, and it was full of power. The shock wave of the light ball flew out in an instant, collided with Frieza's attack, and a huge explosion immediately occurred in the sky. Everything will be destroyed by these two attacks, and the violent shaking is generated in midair, and even the surrounding space becomes very distorted, as if it is about to explode. Yizan's golden shock wave is much stronger than Frieza's, and they have just met each other. Boom! Frieza's attack was destroyed, and the remaining shock wave power still bombarded Frieza's body, and then directly hit Frieza's body. Being enveloped in the attack of the Super Saiyans, Frieza had an unprecedented fear and screamed in anger, but still did not break free from the encirclement. With the sound of an explosion that could penetrate the nearby star field, Frieza's body was instantly smashed into slag, and it could no longer be condensed successfully. Phew! By the time a breeze blew, Frieza's shadow had already disappeared, and there was not even a trace of residue left. The surroundings fell into peace. Yizan exuded perception, and did not feel Frieza's breath, but he had disappeared from this world. The powerful Super Saiyan breath continued to radiate from Yizan's body, and the powerful rays of light became golden. Hey! Yizan landed directly in front of Bulma and Chi-Chi. You too! Yizan tried hard to beat and scold the two women, but in the end he sighed, "Don't take risks like this next time." After all, the two women also cared deeply for themselves, and Yizan also had infinite pity in his heart. After this battle, Yizan's combat power has been greatly improved. The bloodline of the Super Saiyan in his body has been activated, and he can use the Super Saiyan to transform. Moreover, he used the face fruit to fill his cells with chi, making the carrying capacity of one's own cells more tenacious, which will also be of great help to one's own practice in the future, and also using the face fruit to fill his cells with chi. In fact, it is somewhat similar to the Vitality Bomb in the future. However, it is much simpler and less hassle than the Vitality Bomb. However, Yizan looked into the distance, although Yizan deliberately moved the battlefield, but after all, it was such a high-intensity battle, and the damage to the surrounding area was undoubtedly huge. Yizan sighed slightly, and took Bulma and Kiki towards the place where the Nameks were, preparing to use Dragon Balls to repair the damage caused by himself and others. The tribe of the Nameks. The first elder felt the powerful aura flying over, and he couldn't be more excited. This was exactly Yizan's aura. A group of Namekians around also looked at the elders nervously, and some people kept asking, "Elders, how is the situation now?" After being excited for a while, the first elder said, "Yizan, it was Yizan who won. On this planet, the Great Elder has a very powerful power and can perceive everything around him, all under his control and inspection." Not far away, several of Frieza's subordinates were also trembling at this time, and they couldn't detect Frieza's breath, and the sense of fear immediately surged up from their hearts. Although Vegeta was injured, he was still alive. After seeing Yizan becoming a Super Saiyan, his heart was even more stimulated, and he secretly vowed that he would also become a Super Saiyan. It didn't take long for Yizan to fly back and land next to the Great Elder. The powerful aura on his body also disappeared. The Namek warriors all around saw Yizan's return, and they all crowded around excitedly, and all of them looked at Yizan with admiration and admiration. If it wasn't for Yizan, then the mech star might have been destroyed by now. Destroyed. The first elder even took the cane in his hand, walked to Yizan, and said excitedly, "Great, this time I finally defeated Frieza, and Namek was saved." Yizan also nodded and said, "Now that Frieza is dead, everyone can rest assured." After Yizan finished speaking, he said to the elder, "I have basically found the Dragon Ball of Namek, and only the last one is left, so I can summon the dragon to repair the people who died in the battle and the things that were destroyed this time. Come here. The last Dragon Ball is actually with me," the elder said to Yizan, a little embarrassed. After all, he concealed the truth before. The elder thought that Yizan couldn't find the Dragon Ball, so he didn't say much. Yizan didn't care too much about it. After all, the Namekians must know the sequelae of Dragon Ball's wishing too much, so it's normal to hide it. Then call the dragon. Yizan gave the remaining Dragon Balls to the elder and said, "That would be great." Then, Yizan's eyes turned cold, and he turned to look not far away, and saw several of Frieza's subordinates, who were still looking at them from a distance. Shoo! At that instant, Frieza's subordinates felt Yizan's murderous look, and they immediately knelt down in fright. "Forgive me, we were only threatened by Frieza to help him do bad things, we are all good people." Frieza's subordinates kept begging for mercy in front of Yizan. Yizan just glanced at the guys lightly, then turned around and said to the elder, "Elder, what do you think should be done with these guys? I'll leave them all to you." The first elder sighed involuntarily and said, "Even if you kill them, you can't cut off the root of evil. It's better to let them go and let them repent." Hearing the words of the first elder, the few Frieza's subordinates suddenly felt a burst of joy in their hearts, and being able to get out alive from here is more important than anything else. Okay. Yizan also nodded and promised to let them live, but then said to those guys, "It's not difficult to let you go, but you have to pay some price." What price? Frieza's men were startled, not knowing what Yizan wanted to do. Yizan's hands quickly popped out a few rays of light, and then hit them fiercely, causing them to feel a sharp pain in their lower abdomen, and it was very difficult to stand up. "Your strength has dropped to 300 combat power, and it will be very easy to save your life in the future, but if you do evil, you can do it yourself." Yizan waved his hand and said lightly. Hearing this, all of Frieza's subordinates immediately turned pale, but they finally accepted the fact. After all, it would be better to be alive than to be killed. They boarded the spaceship, leaving Namek soon. Those guys just left, and Vegeta also flew over with her injured body. Now he is Yizan's subordinate after all. Where Yizan is, he must be there. Although the Namekians still have some hostility towards Vegeta, no one talks about these things for Yizan's sake. Chapter 83-3 Wishes. Soon, Yizan gave all the Dragon Balls he had collected to the Elder, and found a relatively open place, ready to start summoning the dragon. Everyone gathered around. The Elder looked at the 7 large Dragon Balls on the ground and began to chant a spell. After a while, the clouds in the sky suddenly began to condense. Huge lightning flashed continuously, and with a violent lightning falling, the 7 Dragon Balls shot a powerful light and flew into the sky. Boom! Countless lightning flashed into the sky, forming a huge grid, and soon, from this grid, the appearance of the dragon slowly appeared. This is a huge dragon. Compared with the dragons on Earth, it is even bigger and fatter. It looks like it is overnutritioned and fattened, but its appearance is similar. As soon as the huge dragon appeared, all the Namekians showed pious expressions, folded their hands and opened their prayers. The dragon was the symbol of Namek and their patron saint. After summoning the dragon, the Elder turned around and said to Yizan, "Our dragon is different from the Earth dragon you mentioned. He can make 3 wishes. You saved Namek, and these 3 wishes are made by you or the master." Okay. Yizan nodded without being polite, and walked to Shenlong alone, ready to start making a wish. The huge fat dragon stared at those huge eyes, looked at Yizan on the ground, and said, "Tell me, I can help you realize whatever wish you have." Wishing that Yizan was already ready, and without any hesitation, he said directly, "I want to bring back all the Nameks who died in this battle." Since it is someone else's dragon, Yizan has to make some sense first, and make a wish for Namek first. No problem. Shenlong agreed and began to exert his power. Immediately, there was a burst of strong light around Shenlong's body. The white light instantly became a bit dazzling, and then spread out around, casting a layer of brilliance and falling on the planet Namek. Immediately, the souls and bodies of the Namek warriors who died before were recalled and resurrected, making their relatives happy and excited. After one wish was completed, the fat dragon continued to ask, "This is the first wish, and you can make 2 more wishes." Yizan had already thought about the second wish, and shouted, "The second wish, I hope that the destroyed Namek will be restored to its original state." No problem. Shenlong agreed, and began to exert his power. Then, Yizan raised his head and said to the fat dragon, "The last wish, I want to revive the gods on Earth." No problem. Shenlong agreed to all these wishes, and a powerful light burst out from his body. Even if it was far away from the Earth, it could feel its existence. Originally, in the original book, Yizan still remembered that the dragon of Namek could not help the Earth to realize its wish due to the long distance, but now it seems that the Elder must have made some changes to the Dragon Ball of Namek, make it possible to sense more distant distances. At this moment, on the distant Earth, in the God realm towering high in the clouds, a white light flashed. In the wide square, the god who had been killed by Vegeta before flashed a light and came back to life again. Bobo, who was waiting in the temple, was very excited. Wukong and Gui Shanren also saw this magical scene. After all, they were still practicing in the temple and waiting for Yizan to come back together. On Namek planet, all 3 wishes have been used up. The slightly obese Shenlong, whose body's light has become much weaker, said, "3 wishes have been used up, goodbye." As the strong light dissipated, the fat dragon also disappeared in the sky, and the power generated turned into 7 rays of light and flew into the distance, which is the location of the Dragon Ball. Everything, after this battle, returned to calm. Namek also survived this crisis. Yizan stimulated the bloodline of Super Saiyan through powerful battles, which is his biggest gain things. Yizan looked at the people in Namek. "I'm very sorry for the damage I've caused in the battle here and the damage to you. Although without him, the Namekians will also encounter Frieza, but it may become another development. In any case, Yizan is indeed partly responsible for the damage to Namek, although it is not big." Elder Namek quickly waved his hand. No, we should be thankful for your help. let us get rid of Frieza's shadow. Yizan looked at the agreeable eyes of many Nameks, and a slight smile evoked in his heart. Okay, the matter here is over, we should go back to. Yizan glanced at the distance and said to Bulma and Chi-Chi beside him, it's almost time, we should go back to Earth. Well, I really want to go back and see Mom and Dad. Bulma nodded, showing a nostalgic expression. The first elder came over and said to Yizan, aren't you going to stay with us for a while longer? Thanks to your help, we survived the crisis, so let us thank you. Yizan waved his hand and said, no need, we will come again in the future on 1.6. Seeing that Yizan had made up his mind, the first elder didn't want to say anything more. He nodded and said, well, next time you must come to Namek to take a look. Well, definitely, Yizan agreed, and took Bulma and Kiki to Vegeta's side. Seeing Yizan coming, Vegeta, who has always been arrogant, also lowered her head to show respect. In front of the absolute powerhouse, even the most noble person must bow his head and be a minister. Glancing at Vegeta lightly, Yizan said, just practice in the universe. When I have something to do, I will call you back. Okay. Vegeta didn't have any dissatisfaction with Yizan's arrangement, nodded and agreed. Chapter 84 Looking for the second generation of Bic. After arranging all this, Yizan took the hands of Bulma and Chi-Chi, used teleportation, and took them back to the God realm on Earth immediately. The gods had just been resurrected, and Bobo and Wukong were still silent in joy. Unexpectedly, suddenly, beside them, another light lit up, and Yizan came back with Bulma and Chi-Chi. As soon as he saw Bulma and Yizan, Wukong was even more happy. He hurriedly jumped over and said happily, Brother Yizan, you are finally back. Yizan nodded and said with a smile, I made you wait for a long time. The gods also saw Yizan, and after discovering the amazing aura on his body, the expression on his face was also a little surprised. As long as Yizan is stronger, the earth will be safer. Although Yizan was unwilling to succeed him as a god, but in his heart, he had long regarded Yizan as the guardian of the earth. Leaning on crutches, the gods came to Yizan and said, you went to Namek. Yizan nodded and said, yes, Namek almost encountered a crisis, but fortunately I solved it in time. Although he has been away from Namek for so many years, Tianshan is also a part of it after all. After hearing that his hometown is almost in danger, he is also a little worried, and he can't help saying to Yizan, thank you so much, Namek will not forget it. Yours. It's okay, don't worry about it. Yizan grinned, this time to Namek, the most rewarding thing was himself, this trip was worth it. Although Yizan did not receive the thanks of the gods, but in the heart of the gods, he remembered this kindness, he glanced at Yizan, and suddenly said, I forgot to tell you something, the big devil of Piccolo. Descendants have appeared, if you have time, I hope you can help me to bring him back. After all, stay on Earth, I am worried about what harm will be caused. Quote. Knowing the relationship between the great demon King Piccolo and the God of Heaven, Yizan naturally would not refuse this request, nodded, and agreed, not to mention that he had to take the great devil Piccolo as his subordinate, which was also a nice thing. Everyone was reunited again, everyone was very happy, a banquet was held in the realm of the gods, and Kobo wanted to bring a lot of food for everyone to enjoy. It is rare for everyone to be together, so naturally there is no shortage of celebration. After the celebration, everyone has their own plans. Wukong and Tianjin Fan, Kaylin plans to stay in the heaven to practice, Turtle Immortal still has to go back to his own island to retire, Bulma wants to go back to see his parents, Chi also wanted to go to the metropolis Wanwan. As for Yizan, he naturally followed the two beauties to the city to have some fun. Otherwise, he felt that he had nothing to do. To say that he stayed in the heaven to practice, Yizan had absolutely no need to do so. When he returned to Guixian Island with Guixianren, Yizan didn't even want to be with an old guy. After returning to Earth quickly, Yizan, Bulma and Chi-Chi got into a car and headed for the city. It's cool to fly around, but if you want to enjoy the scenery along the way, of course, it's a pleasure to drive in a small car and travel leisurely on the road. What's more, it was the happiest thing to be accompanied by two beauties. Yizan also found it interesting to flirt along the way. After a day's drive, Yizan and Bulma returned to their house. This time, Bulma's parents completely treated Yizan as a future son-in-law, and treated him with delicious food. And after the last help, Bulma's father was very interested in Yizan. Whenever he had time, he would take Yizan to his laboratory to take a look at his new invention. After seeing many inventions of Bulma's father, Yizan also sincerely admired him. It is amazing that an Earthling can invent so many advanced things. More importantly, many of the high-tech in it are all because the technology is not advanced enough, it cannot be produced. Otherwise, the level of technology in the Dragon Ball world must be improved by several grades. This also made Yizan have a premonition that the appearance of the androids 17 and 18 was not an accidental phenomenon. Dark scientists manipulated them and turned them into powerful killing weapons. More importantly, number 17 and number 18 are so powerful that even Super Saiyans are difficult to deal with, let alone Sharu after them. This made Yizan aware of a new crisis. The technological power of androids is also very powerful. At that time, this will be a new crisis. After that, Yizan came to Bulma's father's gravity room. However, the high magnification gravity room was still not successfully built, and the low magnification gravity room really didn't have much effect on the current Yizan. So, after living in Bulma's house for a while, Yizan felt a little bored. He made an excuse and left here. He still remembered what the god said last time. The descendants of the great demon King Piccolo, the new generation of Piccolo was born, and Yizan decided to find him first to prevent him from becoming a demon king. Bulma and Chi-Chi were very comfortable in the city, and after knowing what Yizan said about the practice of the gravity room, they did not come out with Yizan. During this period of time, the strength of the two women also gained a lot. Improvement, but compared to Yizan, it is still a bit inferior. In order to catch up with Yizan, the two women decided to practice well in the gravity room in this place. Yizan did not object to this. After all, with the continuous improvement of combat effectiveness in the future, the enemy became stronger and stronger, and his means of protecting women seemed a little weak, and it would be good to become stronger. Whoosh! In the sky, Yizan was flying at a high speed, and the scenery below kept going backwards. Everything, in his eyes, was like a shrimp, shrinking and changing constantly. Yizan had already greeted the gods before, and also learned of a place where Piccolo appeared. His task was to bring Piccolo to the gods and give it to gods. Soon, Yizan found the small village. Sure enough, as soon as he got there, there was a strong atmosphere around. There was no one in the village, there were ruins everywhere, and some places seemed to have been burned by fire. Looks very broken. Chapter 85 He was still a child. Yizan found the small village. The village exuded an air that surpassed ordinary human beings, but the village was empty and ruined. It was very dilapidated. Is Piccolo here? Yizan frowned slightly. He hadn't seen Piccolo yet, and he didn't know if he was here. Along the direction of the breath, Yizan walked into the village on his stomach, but he just walked a few steps when a sharp voice sounded behind him. Hey, the person in front, don't go any further. Go ahead, it's dangerous there. Huh, Yizan was stunned for a moment, then turned to look behind him, and saw a woman in a police uniform with a horn, quietly hiding behind a wall, talking in a panic. And behind the woman, there were several teams of police officers, all of them looked very scared, and looked at Yizan's side with horror. Yizan glanced at them and said indifferently, "Why can't you go in? I don't think there is any danger inside." The female police officer looked at Yizan as if she was an idiot, took the loudspeaker, and lowered her voice. "There is a green-skinned child in there, like the child of the devil in the movie, he can make strange attacks. He destroyed the village, and several of our colleagues were injured by him, and they were held hostage in his hands." Really? Yizan raised the corner of his mouth. Not only was he not afraid at all, but he was also a little excited. It seemed that he was right, Piccolo was here. Seeing that the female police officer was quite beautiful, Yizan smiled at her and said, "Beauty, do you want us to go in together? I'll take you to find your colleague." Hearing this, the female police officer suspected that Yizan was insane. She knew that there was danger inside and wanted to go in. She quickly shouted, "If you don't come out, we won't be able to save you." Knowing that these people were very scared, Yizan didn't bother to care about them. He took a step forward and walked into the village. By checking his breath, he quickly found where Bic was. After a few corners, Yizan was in an abandoned square in the center of the village and saw Piccolo and several police officers, who were all under his control. At this time, Piccolo only looked like a 7 or 8-year-old child. Perhaps because of the bloodline of Namek, it grew very quickly and had a strong inheritance ability. It's just that he looks very small now, like a little devil who just came out of hell, with green skin and body, big eyes, and 2 tentacles on his forehead. Soon, Piccolo also discovered Yizan. Although he looked young, his fierce aura was very powerful. Glancing at Yizan coldly, Little Bic said, "Who are you? Get me out." Although the voice was a little shrill, the threat was very strong, as if Yizan didn't leave, he would be rude. After a little observation of Little Bic's current combat power, it is a little over 100 at best. Although he can be king and hegemony among ordinary people, to Yizan, there is no threat at all, not even to the people around Yizan. What difficulty? Yizan walked straight forward as if he didn't hear it, came to Little Piccolo, grinned at Little Piccolo and said, "Let's go, I'll take you to a place." "Go to hell." Little Piccolo roared and grinned at Yi Xuanyan Kiba. Whoosh. Seeing Yizan continuing to walk towards him, Little Bic raised his hand and shot a shock wave from his palm, slamming towards Yizan. With just such a powerful attack, Yizan didn't pay attention to it at all. It's really the descendant of the Demon King, it's really ruthless to attack. Yizan raised his mouth, dodged, and rushed in front of Little Piccolo. Yizan's speed was so fast that Little Bic was also taken aback, and he quickly stepped back, wanting to attack Yizan. However, before he could make a move, Yizan reached out his hand, pinched Little Bic's ear, lifted him from the ground, and said with a smile, "Don't be naughty, come with me. It hurts." Little Bic immediately jumped and reached out to slap Yizan, but he couldn't touch anything. After tossing around for a while, Little Bic, who had nothing to do with Yizan, could only be obedient, otherwise, but the ears are very painful. The police officers behind Piccolo opened their mouths in surprise when they saw this scene. After they were caught by this strange child, they originally planned to go to the World Counterterrorism Organization for help, but they didn't expect that they would be relieved by the man in front of them. Uniformed. Little Bic didn't know why, but when Yizan held his ear, his whole body felt like he had lost his strength, and he couldn't exert any strength at all, just like an ordinary child. "Ha, ha." Yizan waved a few rays of light, rescued the trapped police officers, and said to them, "You can leave, he will leave it to me." With that said, Yizan carried Little Bic and walked to the other side of the village, without going out from where he had just entered. Several police officers were impressed by Yizan's powerful strength, but one of them couldn't help shouting, "Hey!" "Huh!" Yizan turned his head and looked at the police officer behind him and said, "What, is there anything else?" Maybe it was restrained by Yizan's powerful aura, or maybe it was because of other things. Anyway, the police officer who was about to speak reached his lips, swallowed it quickly, and quickly waved his hand. "No, it's okay, hee." Yizan didn't bother to care about them either. He took Little Bic out of the village and came to a place where there was no one. After handing the Little Bic to the gods, Yizan asked him to train with Wukong. After all, the strength of the two of them will be greatly improved in the future. The task of the Guardian of the Earth will be handed over to them. The goal is not here. There are many more powerful people in the universe. With his current strength, Yizan can also be among the top powerhouses, but there are many more powerful people than him. Therefore, Yizan did not give up his practice. Chapter 86-Mecha Frieza and the Kurdish King. After handing Little Bik to the gods, Yi Zan left, just killing a Frieza. There are still many strong people left, and it is not time to give up cultivation. And when Yi Zan was on the earth to relax a little and recuperate. On the other hand, in the vast universe, a white spaceship floats quietly. The space inside is very wide. A man with a beard and armor is constantly tapping on the table, looking impatient. That appearance, there is a shadow of Frieza. Below him, stood more than a dozen medical scientists and scientists in white clothes. They were all terrified at this time and did not dare to look at the man in front of them. At this moment, a scientist in a white coat and a gas mask walked out quickly from another room in the spacecraft. As soon as he came to the man in the armor, the scientist immediately knelt down and said, Kurd, your son has been resurrected. Hearing this news, the Kurdish king, who had been frowning all the time, only then showed a smile, stood up quickly, and said, take me to see it. Under the guidance of the scientist, the Kurdish king soon went to another laboratory, where there were many bottles and jars. Frieza was in one of the big bottles, and through the transparent glass 567, he could see the colors inside changing moisture. Frieza, who was smashed to pieces by Yi Zan, can still recover through technological means at this time. I have to say that the top technology in this universe is still very powerful. Frieza woke up in the bottle of life, and made some minor adjustments to her body. It looked a little different from before, and it seemed to be a lot stronger. Bang! Frieza squeezed his fist in the bottle of life, and a powerful force immediately erupted, shattering the hard bottle of life directly into slag, and the broken parts were everywhere. After walking out of the bottle of life, Frieza had a very cold expression and said to the father in front of him, Dad, I'm going to Earth and kill that Saiyan. King Kurd's body is much larger than Frieza, and they don't look alike at all, but the fierce aura is exactly the same. Nodding his head, the Kurdish king said with cold eyes, no problem, just go. In the depths of the universe, Yi Zan on Earth did not know Akatsuki. Although Frieza was indeed resurrected once in the original work, when Yi Zan was on Namek, in order to prevent this from happening, he brought Frieza back to life. Body completely destroyed. However, Yi Zan didn't expect that even so, Frieza was resurrected, and like the original, Frieza seemed to be more powerful after the resurrection. Yi Zan, who didn't know all of this, was still living leisurely on Earth. During this period of time, Yi Zan had been practicing with the gods, and sometimes he would return to the city, go to Buma's house, and go out to play with them. This kind of life has been too long, and he seems very lazy. Finally one day, Yi Zan planned to go to the king of the realm. After all, there was the Snake Heim waiting for him there. It's been a long time since he hadn't seen him. He really missed that night. Remember. With the ability to teleport, Yi Zan wants to go to any place, it is only a matter of a moment. Before going to the Realm King, he also euphemistically said that he was going to practice more powerful power. And when Yi Zan went to the Realm King, a very troublesome thing happened. Not long after Yi Zan left the Earth, a white spaceship quickly fell from the sky and landed directly on a barren hill. Ziz! The door of the spaceship opened, and Frieza and his tall and burly father walked out slowly. Looking around, Frieza's expression was very gloomy, and she said with a bit of contempt, the Earth is really a planet full of pollution. It's really uncomfortable to stay in such a place. Kurdish king laughed and said, how can someone stronger than you appear in a place like this? Are we looking for the wrong place and ruining the planet? Let's go to other places to look for it. Because when he got off the spaceship, the Kurdish king had already released his chi, and searched for the position of the strongest on the whole Earth, but he did not find the breath of Saiyans. Frieza shook his head and said, no, Dad, he must be on Earth, and he may have hidden his breath. The Kurdish king patted his forehead and said, my good son, he directly destroyed this planet. That guy named Yi Zan can't stay there anymore. He has to come to us at that time. Hearing this, Frieza's mouth also showed a smile, nodded and said, this is a good idea. After speaking, the two planned to return to the spaceship, and after they were in the universe, they would directly explode the Earth. Even if Yi-zan wanted to hide, there would be nowhere to hide for him. Hee, they are really two arrogant guys, they actually want to blow up the Earth. Suddenly, behind Frieza and his son, there was a mocking laughter, as if they felt very contempt for their behavior. Who? Frieza's expression froze, and she immediately turned to look behind her. Behind them, two women in t-shirts and jeans were standing behind them. The two looked alike, except that one had yellow hair and the other had Yuhi hair. The appearance of the two made Frieza's eyes narrow. With their strength, they didn't even notice someone behind them, and they suddenly became vigilant. These two women are none other than number 17 and number 18. After the two of them were made into androids by the doctor, they killed the doctor, mastered their own body, and escaped from the laboratory. The scene where they appear here. Of course, all this will speed up. Perhaps it is because of Yi-zan's appearance that he helped Bulma's father to eradicate the mechanical Tyrannosaurus, which made the doctor speed up the process of the experiment. The two looked at each other, and then Yuhi's haired number 17 turned his head, looked at Frieza, and said with a smile, "You have no right to ask who we are, because you look too ugly." Chapter 87-Invincible 17th and 18th. What? Frieza almost heard the angriest words he had ever heard when someone said he was ugly. The flames of anger suppressed the unknown, and Frieza roared, "Dad, I decided to kill these two people, they are too rude." The Kurdish king nodded and said, "Go, my son." Whoosh! Frieza's right hand condensed a powerful force and blasted directly at number 17 and number 18. Such a powerful force could directly destroy the entire Earth. However, what she never expected was that Frieza's attack had just reached the side of number 17, and she was casually fired, sending that powerful attack into the sky. 18 on the other side sneered, "It's my turn to shoot." Shoo! Number 18 appeared beside Frieza as soon as the figure moved, and a strong light swept out from his right hand, like a blade, and slashed directly on Frieza's lower abdomen. In Frieza's terrified eyes, he watched as he was cut in half by a slash, and he was unable to resist, so he could only make it all come true. In front of the two androids, Frieza, the powerhouse in the universe, was cut into two halves without even a chance to evade a move. And the Kurdish king, after seeing this scene, the expression on his face froze instantly, and he snorted, "How dare you hurt my son, give me death." The incomparably powerful strength and aura erupted from the Kurdish king's body. Like a turbulent wave, it pressed against the bodies of number 17 and number 18. The right hand condensed a ray of light and was about to bombard it. Whoosh! Unexpectedly, before the Kurdish king's attack could be used, the 17th and 18th hurriedly dodged, passed through Frieza's body, and a sharp light condensed in one's hand, slashing towards the Kurdish king. Without even a chance to make a move, the Kurdish king was chopped into several pieces by number 17 and number 18, becoming more than a dozen pieces, and fell from the air. At the moment of death, the Kurdish king couldn't believe that he was beheaded on Earth, and he still had no chance to fight back. "Let me give them a ride." Number 17 smiled coldly and shot a shock wave, which chopped Frieza and his son into several pieces, all of which were shot into the spaceship. Afterwards, he kicked the spacecraft hard and kicked the spacecraft out of the atmosphere. Then on the 18th, a powerful shock wave was used to chase directly from the Earth to the outer space, smashing the spacecraft and smashing the spacecraft. Everything inside has become cosmic dust. Hee. Number 17 and number 18 smiled coldly and said at the same time, "The scum of the universe, the Earth is ours, and only we can destroy it." What happened on Earth? Everyone on Earth didn't know Akatsuki, and even the gods didn't notice it happened because of little Piccolo, but it did happen, and the impact of this incident was absolutely not small. All this has not affected Yi-zan now. In the distant Zhuangsheng, Yi-zan is sitting on the reclining chair, enjoying the unique light of Zhuangsheng, with a glass of juice next to him, sitting there drinking leisurely, not like coming to practice at all, but like coming to vacation. Because the last time he accidentally fell, He knocked down the king's house again, and the king is now slowly repairing the hole in the wall by himself. For him, this is not only a chore, but a kind of it's better to enjoy and find something to do than to be bored all day long. However, Yi Zan, who was lying on the chair, still felt that he was not very happy at this time. He originally wanted to see Hein the snake, but he didn't know that the other party ignored him and made him eat a closed door, and in the end he didn't even meet him. Seeing it really annoyed him. Yi Zan, who was in a bad mood, felt that he didn't even have the mood to practice, so he could only lie here, drink a drink, and bask in the sun. The Realm King, who was repairing the wall, was still humming and working, but suddenly, his expression changed, and the tools he was holding fell to the ground. How is it possible? There are two powerful guys on the earth. The Realm King muttered to himself, as if he was under great pressure, and the cold sweat on his forehead could not help flowing down. Putting down the tools in his hand, the real king hurried to Yi Zan's side and said to him, "It's not good, Yi Zan, something big has happened to the earth." Yi Zan, who was in no mood, heard this, turned his head and glanced at the king, and said lightly, "What happened, so panic?" The Realm King didn't have time to explain, and said directly, "Not long after you came to me, two artificial humans appeared on the earth. They are powerful and they are destroying many places on the earth. Even Frieza and his son were killed by them." Killed? What? Hearing this news, Yi Xuankai was shocked, and stood up quickly. The shadows of number 17 and number 18 immediately came to mind. "Is it them?" Yi Zan said secretly in his heart, but what surprised Yi Zan even more was that Frieza was resurrected. "I didn't expect number 17 and number 18 to appear so quickly." Yi Zan's eyes narrowed slightly. The development of this matter exceeded Yi Zan's expectations, which made Yi Zan a little worried. The plot of Dragon Ball is one of the few worlds where Yi Zan does not want to break the plot. "I don't have the confidence to protect Kiki and Bulma, let alone Earth." Moreover, Frieza and his son came to Earth and were beheaded by these two androids. It seems that their strength has reached a very terrifying stage. Otherwise, in the original book, Trunks would not have been special. Time travel to solve this matter. At this time, the god of the earth finally found the clue, and in Yi Zan's mind, the voice of the god of the gods also came. "Yi Zan, the big thing is bad, there are two demons who want to destroy the earth. In this place, all the people on earth have been killed, and the city has been destroyed. Wukong and the others have already set off to stop them. I am worried that their strength is not enough, so I want you to come back." Quote. With the current strength of Wukong and the others, how could they be the opponents of number 17 and number 18? If they rushed over, they would be used as cannon fodder and die. Putting his index and middle fingers on his forehead, Yi Zan replied to the gods with the ability to meditate. "I see, let Wukong and the others not make unnecessary sacrifices, I will come back right away." After mobilizing the muscles in his neck, Yi Zan's neck made a sound, loosening his muscles and bones, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, and said, "It seems that I have to show off my skills again." Yi Zan was about to leave Jia Wangxing, and the dignified Jia Wang suddenly stopped Yi Zan and said, "This time you go to Earth to deal with those two androids. I have a bad premonition, just in case, I have to teach you another powerful force." Chapter 88 _ The Last Teachings of Hades. "What are you going to teach me, and how much time will it take?" Yi Zan immediately raised his head and asked. Now the earth is in danger, and people are being killed every moment. He is needed at this time, and he doesn't want to spend too much time here. Then it depends on how much your comprehension ability is. If you comprehend quickly, it only takes a few minutes. If you comprehend slowly, it depends on you. I only teach you how to use it, and I won't teach you how to use it. Wang said. Just teach me how. Yi Zan's expression froze for a moment, but then nodded again. The things that the Realm King gave him should not be weak. The Realm King said to Yi Zan somewhat contentedly, "The things I handed you need to be slowly comprehended by yourself, it's called Yuan Qi Bomb." There is no doubt about the power of the Origin Qi Bomb, and the Realm King began to teach Yi Zan the Origin Qi Bomb. Needless to say, at this time, in the God Realm, the resurrected god, with a very ugly face at this time, crossed his hands on his chin, sat on the chair and fell into deep thought. He was using his ability to check the situation of the earth, but the city was full of devastated, like a crippled Mukuro, his face was very ugly. Whoosh! In the azure blue sky, Wukong and his party, after improving their combat power a lot, also relied on their own strength and flew directly to the city destroyed on the 17th and 18th. Wukong has come to the sky above the city according to the instructions given by the gods, and can see the city in the distance. It is already very dilapidated. This time, only Wukong, Keelan, Tianjin Fan and Piccolo came out. They are not very strong now, but Yizan has not come yet, so they can only appear. The city, the 17th and 18th are ruthlessly destroying the city. As long as they feel good, they can bombard the ground with a Qigong wave. Those high-rise buildings have also become the things they destroy. Ziz. A lot of cars on the street were struggling to escape, and as long as they took a step at night, it would become something they destroyed. Haha, it's really fun. Number 18 laughed, raised his right hand, and concentrated his strength on it, forming a shock wave that directly bombarded a building not far away and collapsed. On the 17th, he also waved a shock wave, which exploded several cars, causing the people in the cars to die. The feeling of destroying the city in this way is the most comfortable thing for them. In their minds, except for the stimulation that destruction can bring, other things are so tasteless. Their existence is for destruction and destruction. The doctor who created them had such an idea to destroy the earth and become the only master. Boom! After destroying a building and reaping the lives of thousands of people, Number 17 said with some boredom, "Most of the people in this city have already been hiding, let's move to another place." Okay, anyway, I'm tired of this place. 18 nodded and agreed. After the city was destroyed by them, the surviving people have begun to hide everywhere, looking in this direction from the corners and corners. The expressions on their faces are terrified. The face of the powerful Number 17 and 18, the government and the world's military have no choice but to let them destroy everywhere and cause headaches. Whoosh! At this time, from the sky, several figures rushed down quickly. All of them fell behind them, making their faces change slightly, and they sensed that something was wrong. Turning his head slightly, Number 17 saw the person coming behind him, with a sneer on the corner of his mouth. "Who are you guys? Are you coming to stop us?" The few people who came here were Wukong and the others. Seeing the corpses all over the ground, Wukong shouted angrily, "Yes, we are here to stop you. You are so hateful, you actually killed so many people." Haha, it's really funny, just a few of you want to deal with us. Are you really not afraid of death? Number 18 seemed to have heard a very funny joke, so he couldn't help laughing loudly, looking at Wukong and the others, also gradually getting colder. "Damn, I'm going to fight with you." Wukong was provoked, his body slowly squatted, and he began to gather strength on his body. "Yeah." With Wukong's low voice, he jumped up and rushed out quickly reaching in front of Number 18, and punched her face fiercely. Whoosh! Before the punch could land, Number 18 flicked his finger lightly, and a white light immediately flew out, hitting Wukong, causing him to fly backwards. "Ah, it hurts!" Wukong shouted while flying backwards, and finally hit a long Jinchuriki column behind him, breaking it directly. Wukong! Seeing Wukong being knocked into the air, the faces of Tianjin Fan and the others changed drastically. Even the young demon King Piccolo felt enormous pressure. In front of these two people, his strength was fundamentally weak. Not worth mentioning. Hee, just relying on you useless guys, are you still coming to fight? On the 18th, he hooked his fingers at Tianjin Fan and the others with a look of disdain. For them, Tianjin Fan was not at all concerned. People in the eyes. "Damn, I'll do it for you." Tianjin Fan and the others were also provoked. Without saying a word, they shouted angrily, and rushed out quickly, ready to duel with them on the 18th. After a while, Tianjin Fan and several people were blasted to the ground. It was very difficult to struggle to get up. Tianjin Fan was stepped on by Number 18 and could not move. 2.9. Looking at the Tianjin fans with contempt, the corner of number 18's mouth raised a sneer, and a strong light condensed from his right hand, and there was a strong aura surging inside. You guys are too weak. Living is a waste of air, you might as well die. Number 18 sneered, the powerful light condensed in his right hand pointed down, and then flew out quickly. Whoosh! At the moment when this ray of light flew out, Tianjin fans' expressions changed, and they felt a strong aura of death. Ziz! But at this moment, a tall figure appeared in the sky. Like an illusion, it appeared quickly out of thin air, causing the surrounding air to blow a strong wind because of his appearance. Chapter-81-100 returns. This figure is a little slender, but the slender body contains power that cannot be ignored. It is strange that the slender body has powerful power, but this is the first feeling of everyone. As soon as this figure appeared, without saying a word, he raised his right hand and shot out a violent shock wave, which shot towards number 17. Boom! The two shock waves slammed together and exploded in the air, generating an extremely powerful shock wave, which rushed everything around and swept back. After the power generated by the shock wave disappeared, number 17 and number 18 looked at the midair with a solemn expression, staring at the strong man who suddenly appeared. It was none other than Yizan, who came from the Realm King. Yizan was racing against time. After comprehending the original gas bomb, he rushed here as quickly as possible. As soon as I came, I saw this scene. If you don't act quickly, I'm afraid Wukong and the others will become the dead souls under the hands of two androids. Who are you? Your strength is not bad. Number 18 opened his mouth, staring at Yizan, who was 30 in the air. It doesn't matter who I am, but you destroyed the earth, displaced many people, and their lives are in danger, so I will stop you. Yizan said as he looked at number 18, and his aura also erupted. Come out. Haha, what you said is so funny. Number 18 said, for so long, there have been many guys who said they wanted to deal with us, but they all failed in the end, and you will be one of them. You are, because they are not me. A proud look flashed in Yizan's eyes. Yizan has his own pride, the pride brought by that powerful power. Stop talking nonsense, I'll kill him. Number 17's face was cold, and he rushed out instantly, attacking Yizan. Number 17 is very powerful. When he lifted his right hand back, a powerful shock wave was condensed and quickly threw it on Yizan's body, like several rays of light rushing towards him. Whoosh, whoosh. Yizan easily dodged these powerful shock waves, and then those shock waves exploded behind Yizan, and huge smoke and dust rang out on the ground. Shish! Several shock waves did not hit Yizan, nor did they cause him any damage. The figure of number 17 flashed quickly and came to Yizan. With a kick, number 17's attack was very powerful, and the powerful whirlwind it brought out went straight to Yizan's forehead, and the power of this kick was also very huge. Dodging back and dodging number 17's kick, but in no time, 17's good punches and kicks launched 2 or 3 attacks one after another. Although number 17's attack is very powerful and the speed is unparalleled, it is not so powerful for Yizan now. He also displayed his attack power and fought with number 17. The two were fighting in midair, and the powerful force they generated formed bursts of shock waves that flew towards the ground, causing the ground to tremble constantly. Crack! They kicked, and under Yizan's feet, a dazzling light crossed, and a simple shock wave formed in it, blasting towards number 17. Although the attack was short-lived, the power inside was still very powerful. Before number 17 could dodge, he was kicked out by Yizan. Under absolute power, even the androids 17 and 18 cannot stop all this. The reason why they are here to destroy the Earth is because they think that on Earth, they are invincible. Whoosh, whoosh. Back to number 17, his eyes flashed coldly, he raised his head and stared at Yizan, stretched out his hand to wipe the blood from the corners of his mouth. For them, being injured was what a shameful thing. Are you injured? What a waste, let me do it. Number 18 said coldly below, his tone was still so indifferent, and he didn't have any special feelings for his companions. No, I'm going to kill him myself. Number 17 waved his hand, and a powerful aura erupted from him instantly. Around number 17, burst after burst of power rushed out quickly, almost shattering the ground. The powerful momentum gathered, and the people surrounding them all rushed towards Yizan. Sometimes in the battle between the strong, the coercion and momentum alone can make the opponent feel scared. But such a thing is obviously useless to Yizan, and he didn't even move, just waiting for the attack on the 17th. Raising his hands slowly, number 17 condensed all the power in his body, forming a circle in the middle of his hands, and that huge power suddenly became a powerful light in the circle. Go to hell! As number 17 shouted loudly, the powerful light instantly turned into a beam of light and rushed out. The surrounding air seemed to have been cut, sending out a strange shaking. Unlike the strong human beings, number 17 is an artificial man. The power he uses comes from high-tech 990 technology. Those light impacts contain a special substance that easily cuts through the air. This move was quick. Even if Yizan wanted to dodge, it was too late. He could only quickly gather his strength and blast out a shock wave. Boom! The two powerful shock waves slammed into each other, creating a violent storm, rushing around quickly, and almost everything on the ground was swept up and pulled into the sky. And behind a ruin in the distance, a man in a suit, holding a tool that can receive video information, hid behind a large rock, and was cautiously reaching out. This is a reporter, one of the greatest industries on Earth. No matter how harsh the environment is, they are there, and sometimes they are using their own lives to broadcast live broadcasts for everyone. Yizan and number 17, who were hiding from a reporter in the distance, were still fighting at high altitude. After that powerful attack, the smoke and dust that stirred up around him enveloped Yizan himself and number 17. After the smoke and dust dissipated, number 17 looked forward, but could not find Yizan's figure. Chapter 90-trick. Haha, didn't I kill him yet? Number 17 showed a smug smile on his face. In his opinion, no one could stop their power. Hey, you guys are a little too arrogant. It's too bad to want to kill me with such strength. Suddenly, Yizan's voice sounded behind number 17 again, appearing like a ghost. That kind of powerful feeling is like a mountain shrouded in number 17 feet's heart. What? Number 17's face was very ugly, and a sense of powerlessness surged in his heart. Number 17 really didn't think that it would be okay for him to attack Yizan like this. For the first time, number 17 began to have some doubts about his own strength. Behind number 17, Yizan raised his hand, a powerful light flashed out of his hand, and then slapped down the back door of number 17. Whoosh! A ray of light lit up. With a strong force, it directly hit number 17, knocking him directly to the ground, flying along the ground for hundreds of meters, smashing everything around it. Smashed a big hole. Seeing this scene on the 18th, the expressions on their faces instantly became ugly. Since they came out of the laboratory, they had never met such a strong man, and they felt a little cowardly. Whoosh! Flying forward quickly, number 18 came to number 17's side and lifted him up from the ground. The two stared at Yizan with cold eyes, murderous aura looming. Damn, I must kill him. Number 17 was furious. Although he was injured, his powerful aura burst out quickly. Human strength will grow. After defeating Frieza, Yizan's Saiyan bloodline has unknowingly reached the second stage. Therefore, even in the face of number 17 and number 18 who could easily kill Frieza and his son, Yizan didn't have the slightest worry. Even if he were to deal with Frieza and his son now, I believe he could easily kill them in seconds, and he could do it more cleanly. Damn! Unconvinced on the 17th and 18th, the two jumped from the ground to the sky at the same time, and flew to Yizan's side. Squinting his eyes slightly, Yizan glanced at the two behind him, and said in a low voice, "Since you both want to go together, come on, let me see how strong you are. You won't be disappointed for sure." Number 17 and number 18 sneered at the same time. They all still have reservations. The real ultimate move has not erupted at this time. Whoosh, whoosh. Two powerful rays of light burst out from number 17 and number 18. The aura of the two of them has also increased tremendously in a short period of time, and their strength has undergone a qualitative change. Shish, shish. The two rushed to Yizan's side and started a powerful attack, one in front and the other behind, displaying a powerful force. The two attacked together at the same time, and their speed and strength reached their peak. In the air, only the sound of breaking wind could be heard, and the loud sound of fists and feet was already connected. Wukong, who was watching the battle on the ground, all looked up at the sky, excited and nervous. Wukong couldn't help but said, "Brother Yizan is really powerful, facing the simultaneous attack of these two guys, there is no problem." Quote, "Yeah, Yizan is really too strong. The difference between him and him is like the sun and the dust on the earth. It is out of reach." Tianjin Fan also sighed with emotion. Yizan is the strongest earth person he has ever seen. Little Bic also frowned, full of yearning for Yizan's battle, hoping that one day he will have the strength to fight with Yizan. At this time, Yizan in the sky was still able to handle the alliance between number 17 and number 18, and it didn't feel like he was forced into a predicament at all. Bang, bang. Suddenly, Yi Xuanfei kicked out 2 feet, and the powerful force exploded on his toes, forming 2 shock waves, which directly hit number 17 and number 18, kicking both of them. Go out. Both of them were kicked out very far, and the flying body stopped a few dozen meters later, and they were suspended in midair with powerful strength, and they didn't fall down. Damn, this guy is too strong. Blood dripped from the corner of number 17 feet's mouth, and his eyes were full of anger when he looked at Yizan. Looks like we have to make a trick. 18 Hao also nodded. The breath on his body began to rise rapidly. The crushed stones on the ground all floated up in a short period of time, ascended into the air, and circled around number 17 and number 18, spinning non-stop. Condensation. The two of them folded their palms at the same time, and the huge breath gathered those gravel, floating in the air, and became a huge arm. Boom. The huge arm, like the Jinchuriki column of the sky, tossed up in the sky, and then punched Yizan with a fist. Can be twisted into one piece. Passing through the air, the arm bombarded Yizan, and the air in front of him caused a huge vibration, and a violent gust of wind, with shock waves, whizzed away. Such a huge pressure has already condensed huge power into it. Yizan was in front of him, and he also felt the huge pressure. However, trying to defeat Yizan under such pressure was still a long way off. He couldn't help raising the corner of his mouth and sneered, "Just based on your current strength, you are still too weak." Drink. Before the violent attack reached Yizan's side, he roared violently. A powerful aura erupted from him, causing the air around him to suddenly tighten, and the bursts of violent aura shot backwards from his body, and pulled up all the way behind him. In a short period of time, the chi in Yizan's body has changed from ordinary white to incomparably powerful golden, and the earth is affected by his powerful aura. In the form of a Super Saiyan, Yizan burst out his power quickly, and the pair of golden pupils stared at the two people in front of him, showing the strong state of the king. Chapter 91-Beaten to Run. Yizan raised his hand slowly, and slowly gathered all the power into his hand. Hey! It was like a ray of light from Jinchuriki column, and it shot out in an instant, bombarding number 17 and number 18. Boom! 17 and number 18 imposingly, knocking them both upside down. Their chests were tight, and they spit out a mouthful of blood. At this moment, Yizan's figure disappeared from the spot, and in the next instant, he arrived at the side of number 17 and number 18, and kicked both of them directly on them. This increased strength made both of them fly backwards, and the speed increased several times. They directly knocked over the house on the ground, causing a violent vibration. In the distance, the reporter who filmed Yizan's battle had already stared at it with straight eyes, dragged the camera a little closer, pointed it at his head, and said very excitedly, "This is simply the worst in human history. A mighty battle, that golden warrior, knocked out two saboteurs, and now we're going to restore peace." 17, who stood up from the ruins, flicked his finger, and a ray of light 250 ray flew over, blasting the reporter out and hitting a stone Jinchuriki column, became a meatloaf, and the camera fell to the side. Cough cough. After a few violent coughs, when number 17 stood up, the metal pieces on his body were still flashing slight lightning. After all, he was an artificial human, and the mechanical power on his body still could not disappear. Damn, this guy dares to hurt me like this, I'm going to fight him. Number 17 became furious regardless of his destroyed body. No, 18 also stood up from the ruins. Although the injuries were not as serious as number 17, their faces were also very ugly. It was the first time they had encountered such a formidable opponent, and it seemed that they could not bear failure. But in the end, number 18 still maintained some rationality, grabbed number 17, and whispered, "In our current state, we are not the opponent of this guy at all. We will deal with this guy when we return to the base to replenish some energy. But I want to kill him now, the flame of anger cannot be suppressed in my heart." Number 17's face was very gloomy, and a huge momentum slowly formed beside him. Save your strength, next time you have a chance. Number 18's strength increased a bit, pulling number 17, he flew behind him and went far away. Seeing that number 17 and number 18 flew away, Yizan raised a sneer at the corner of his mouth. Want to escape? There are no windows. Yizan, who turned into a Super Saiyan, suddenly increased the speed of his body, and the whole person rushed out quickly, chasing after the 17th and 18th, and behind them, he displayed an attack, and the shock wave hurriedly chased after them. Superior. Humph. Number 17 and number 18 feet's faces sank, and they glanced back. Although there was extreme anger in their hearts, they were not Yizan's opponent now, so they had to endure these temporarily and continue to rush forward. Whoosh! Looking in the sky, you can only see two extremely fast rays of light, flying very bravely in front, behind another powerful golden rays of light, chasing after them. It seems that it is difficult to get rid of him. I will be in front of him first, you go first. Number 18 said to number 17 with a cold face. No, let's go together, otherwise, even if I die, I won't go first. Number 17 refused directly. They were just two androids, Yizan didn't take them too seriously, and dealing with them was just a small effort, and it wouldn't be too difficult. 17 and number 18, who have been closely pursued by Yizan, quickly got into trouble. Number 18 feet's face sank and said, "It seems that there is only one way to do it." The two looked at each other, and one after another, they released an incomparably powerful force from their bodies and flew out into the surrounding air. The momentum is like a substantive light, which makes people feel very dazzling just by seeing it, let alone looking up. Even Yizan feels dazzled by the light released. In the blink of an eye, the rays of light that were released suddenly turned into thick fog, surrounding Yizan's side, blocking Yizan's sight. Almost subconsciously, Yizan checked his own carrot spread out and sensed the surrounding situation, but in such a short period of time, number 17 and number 18 had disappeared. For a short time, Yizan was blocked from sight, and the thick fog in front of him made it impossible to see anything, but at that moment, the two had disappeared. What about people, why are they gone? But when Yizan flew above the blue sky, he couldn't see anything. The shadows of number 17 and number 18 had completely disappeared. I released a strong breath to check, but I didn't feel the breath of the two people, as if they had disappeared in this world. HMPH, do you think that if you hide, you won't be able to find you? Sooner or later, you will appear again. Yizan's expression changed slightly, and he turned back to Wukong and the others. 17 and number 18 were seriously injured and retreated to the ground of an abandoned building. Inside, there was a huge laboratory, where they were born. The doctor who studied them, in order to prevent the world from discovering his crazy experiments, moved the laboratory underground and carried out these crazy experiments, but when the experiments were successful, the entire laboratory exploded, on the 17th and 18th. Come out and kill the doctor. And this city has also become the first city to be destroyed by number 17 and number 18. Almost everyone who lives in this city will be killed by them. The doctor's vicious thoughts were all transplanted into their minds, that is, to destroy the Earth and kill all human beings. This destroyed laboratory, number 17 and number 18 call the base, although they do not often need to come here, but every time they need to repair the body, they have to come here to replenish. I found a secret room in the laboratory, and number 17 and number 18 walked in. The equipment inside is simply the most advanced instruments on Earth, and all kinds of sophisticated things can be seen here. Chapter 92_Sharu Resurrection. That guy, I will never let him go lightly. When my strength recovers, I must let him die by my hands. The skin on his chest was damaged, and Kiba on the 17th said angrily, using his right hand to force his fist. A low current burst out. Don't think about revenge first, let's talk about recovering your body. Number 18 said. Both of them are the most advanced artificial humans in the world, and the knowledge in their heads is also quite rich. Not only are they powerful, but they are also involved in a lot of high tech, so they also have a certain ability to repair themselves. That's all. Speaking of, number 17 and number 18 are quite powerful. After all, in the original book, they even defeated Super Saiyans. It's just that Yizan is too strong, and the two of them are not strong enough. Apart from rushing for their lives, there is absolutely no other way. On the 17th and 18th, when they were preparing to repair themselves, in another room of the laboratory, a strange-looking figure walked slowly. The body of this monster is a bit like a human being and can walk freely, but behind the arms, there are wings, and the skin is also very weird, like an insect-like thing, and the face is even more weird, it doesn't look like a human at all. A tail with spikes swung back and forth, making people panic. Gollum. The monster's Adam's apple moved, and those big dark eyes stared at number 17 and number 18 from the crack of the door, revealing a greedy gaze. Boom! The monster stretched out his hand and exploded the iron door of the laboratory directly. After a burst of smoke and dust, he walked out directly. Who is it? Number 17 and number 18 were immediately attracted to the past, and hurriedly prepared a defensive posture, ready to attack at any time. The monster-like guy walked into the laboratory, flicked his spiked tail, and made a hoarse voice from his throat. Hey, my name is Shalu, I'm here to kill you. Bastard, are you impatient? Number 17 yelled, jumped up from the test bench, and condensed a powerful force in his right hand, smashing Sharu fiercely. Hey, when the shock wave erupted from that power, Sharu's figure suddenly flashed to the side, and he easily avoided the attack of number 17. Boom, and the attack rushed out from the side, streaks a ray of light, and finally hit the deep underground, blasting the entire underground, and the houses on the ground collapsed under the influence. Dodging his own attack so easily, number 17's face became very ugly. At the same time, he encountered two powerful opponents in one day, which made him very unhappy. Hey, you're too weak. Sharu rushed forward, his figure flashed quickly, and he came to number 17's side in an instant, grabbed his neck, and threw his tail out quickly, directly insert into the neck of the 17th. Stop! Number 18 rushed out from the side, his right hand condensed strength, a shock wave burst out, and the ground trembled violently. HMPH, I don't know whether to live or die. Sharu stagnated for a while, raised his other hand, and a shock wave also erupted, and the attack of number 18 came a counter boom, a powerful force, which burst out in an instant. Boom! Sharu's powerful shock wave completely destroyed number 18's attack. In the final aftermath, number 18 was blasted to the back, vomiting blood and fell to the ground. After a few weird laughs, Shalu stared at number 18 and sneered, I sucked him first, and then sucked you. Hey! The spy's tail behind Shalu waved a few times in the air, and then went towards number 17's neck. Drink! At this moment of crisis, number 17 raised his hands suddenly and clasped Sharu's tail tightly, making it less easy for him to stab him off. Do you think you can stop me like this? Shalu sneered, the spikes on the tail suddenly stretched forward, becoming stronger, and rushed forward quickly, directly piercing the number 17's neck. Ah! Number 17 screamed, the muscles on his neck swelled rapidly and agitated. Although number 17 is an artificial human, part of his body still belongs to human beings. Sharu continuously draws his power from his body, and it does not take long for number 17 to be sucked dry. 17 looks like a fresh fruit. It was full and round at first, but now, after being sucked by Sharu like this, it has become very shriveled and looks very terrifying. Seeing such a terrifying scene, number 18 was extremely frightened, but his reaction was not slow at all. He blasted a big hole next to the laboratory, and flew out, speeding up to ultimate. Seeing that number 18 escaped, Shalu did not chase, but continued to enjoy the delicious food in his hands. The thorny tail was constantly stirring, like a straw, to extract the power of number 17. Bang dang. In the end, number 17 became a pile of scrap iron, and the mechanical part was still on the ground, making a screeching noise. Only a wrinkled dry skin was left on the real body. Maybe it was because he was too full, and Shalu burped, with a smile on his weird face, staring at the direction where number 18 fled, and sneered, "You think that if you run away now, I can't do it anymore. Take you back." Absorbing the power of number 17, Sharu's body shape has undergone certain changes. It is already a little different from the primary appearance that came out before, and it seems to be more powerful. Gia, the next step, it's time to find some fresh powerhouses, a delicious feast, I'm here, haha. Sharu laughed, the skin on the surface of the body, along with his laughter, began to happen change. At this time, after driving away number 17 and number 18, Yi Xuanfei returned to Wukong and the others. Looking at the devastated city, Yi Zan said, "The city has become like this, and so many people have died, it is time to look for Dragon Ball. Now that the gods are resurrected, if you want to save the destroyed city, you must collect Dragon Balls." Chapter 93-Attack. Back in the realm of the gods, Yi Zan took Wukong and the others to the gods and arranged for them to look for Dragon Balls first. After all, the gods had just been resurrected, and the Dragon Balls created need to be collected again before they can be used. In the circular temple, the deity held a cane and walked in the temple with Yi Zan for a while, then suddenly turned his head. The deity said, "I have a hunch that the earth is about to fall into an unprecedented crisis, what do you think?" "Do." Yi Zan turned a big Byakugan in his heart, and had a hunch. A very powerful excuse, a man's intuition. Yi Zan said casually, "What else can I do? If you are not convinced, you can beat him until he is not convinced." Yi Zan didn't care very much. Yi Zan always felt that maybe the gods were too nervous and thought things too impetuously. Seeing that Yi Zan was so confident, the gods didn't say anything more and nodded, but he was praying in his heart that Yi Zan could do what he said. "The destroyer of the earth has not been found yet, what will you do next?" Tenjin continued to ask. "What else can I do? The two androids are not my opponents, they have already been hiding, but they will appear on their own sooner or later, so we don't need to look for them," Yi Zan said lightly with the corners of his mouth raised. For number 17 and number 18, Yi Zan didn't care about them hiding their whereabouts. Anyway, they liked to destroy the world. Once their strength was restored, it was impossible to endure it and stay in the laboratory without coming out. It's just that Yi Zan doesn't know that the current number 17 has become Shalu's nourishment, and number 18 is running away in a hurry. At this time, on the streets of a city, Sharu walked out of the base shortly after absorbing number 17 and flew in one direction. Crack. In a spacious yard, Shalu glanced at the big characters on the house number, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. "Hey, what are you doing? You are not allowed to enter or leave here." A doorman who was sweeping the floor found Sharu's whereabouts and quickly picked up the broom and shouted, "Call me." Sharu's face sank and he turned around slowly. As soon as he turned around, Sharu's insect-like body and face immediately turned the guard's face pale with fright, and dropped the broom in his hand, as if retreating back. However, how could Shalu give him this chance? The sharp thorn flew out in an instant and rushed directly to the guard's neck, sucking him dry. Pata. After the guard was sucked dry, He threw it directly on the ground. His flesh was dry, and there was no flesh and blood, and all the essence was absorbed into the body by Sharu. As the world's #1 martial arts meeting held, Shalu's mouth slightly raised, showing a sneer, and walked into the office. Yes, Shalu came to the world's #1 martial arts club. On the other hand, after waiting at the god for a day, Yizan didn't notice the aura of number 17 and number 18. Originally, he thought that these two guys would run out, but now it seems that he is thinking too much. And for the safety of Bulma and Chi-Chi, several of them have also been taken to the realm of the gods by Yizan and stood here to stay. Why didn't they come out? Could it be that I made a mistake in my estimation? Yizan stood in the middle of the temple, his brows furrowed together with a worried expression. After thinking for a while, his face suddenly changed. Could it be? Because a shocking news emerged in Yizan's heart. He thought of Sharu in Dragon Ball, the powerful android-like thing. If he really appeared, number 17 and number 18 might have died. This can't be done. Although number 18 is a little more brutal and powerful, she is a beautiful woman after all. Yizan was thinking. Yizan, come watch TV. Suddenly, Bulma, who was watching TV in the room, suddenly ran out of the room and beckoned to Yizan. Yizan, who was thinking, heard Bulma's shout, nodded and agreed, come on. When he came to the room, Yizan sat on the sofa, just to deal with Boomer. He looked at it casually. Now people all over the world know that number 17 and number 18 are two super destroyers, and now the Earth is in danger of being dominated by them. This is the first time in history that the Earth is in crisis. Pointing to the picture on the TV, Bulma said, Yizan, look at this guy, he looks so strange and ugly, it's really strange that he wants to hold a world martial arts meeting. No matter what era or time it is, there are people who are enjoying it, and even those who should enjoy it in the face of the risk of the Earth's explosion have not fallen behind. At first, Yizan hadn't noticed the plot on the TV, but after hearing the world's #1 martial arts meeting, he couldn't help but look at the TV. On the TV screen, Sharu with a strange face was broadcasting live broadcasts to people all over the world through the TV lens. Sharu himself is a monster, so suddenly appearing on the TV screen, it looks a bit more terrifying. I saw him through the camera, sneered to people all over the world. I am King Sharu, this time I am here. It is if you want to hold the world's #1 martial arts meeting, any strong person with strength can come and challenge me, otherwise, I will destroy the Earth, haha. With the arrogant voice coming from the TV, Bulma was stunned, pulled Yizan's arm, and hurriedly asked, why is this guy so arrogant? He wants to destroy the Earth, is he crazy? Yizan's heart was also excited at this time. He didn't expect Shalu to appear, and he would also hold the world's first martial arts meeting. It seems that his purpose of 3.6 was to absorb the power of the strong. Yizan is naturally clear about the abilities of Sharu, a monster, and he is also a character who understands the plot of Dragon Ball. He's not joking, he does have this ability. Yizan smiled lightly and said to Bulma. Afterwards, Yizan stood up again, and the corner of his mouth raised a radian. Since Sharu has appeared, then the 17th and 18th are probably in danger. Walking outside the door, before going out, Yizan turned to Bulma and Chi-Chi and said, I want to go out, you two stay in the temple and don't go anywhere, it's very dangerous outside. Yeah, the two women nodded and smiled at Yizan. Chapter 94_Interesting guy. Whoosh. In the sky, Yizan's figure was already like a strong light, and it was advancing rapidly. Since Sharu has already come over, if Yizan didn't go over to take a look, how could he be worthy of his own blood, Super Saiyan? At this time, in the venue of the #1 martial arts club in the world, many powerhouses who saw Shalu's announcement came from all directions to challenge Shalu. After all, a monster like Sharu, after making such a statement, has offended all the people on Earth, and those strong people who are dedicated to cultivating martial arts are also provoked and want to challenge Sharu. Standing on the ring, Shalu just glanced at the master who claimed to be a boxing master. With a disdainful expression on his face, it's such a rubbish, so embarrassed to come to me. Shish. Sharu threw the huge tail thorn directly, inserted it into the neck of the master, sucked him directly into a human dry, and then threw it on the ground. Ah, you are using a weapon, despicable guy. The 30 martial arts families watching the battle below the ring saw this scene. They all yelled angrily, and Sharu's moves were very vicious, which scared them all. Jump. Glancing at these people below, a sneer appeared on the corner of Shalu's mouth. They are all a bunch of useless guys. They are too embarrassed to come with such a little strength. They can die. Saying that, Sharu slowly raised his right hand, condensing a powerful light. The power exploded inside, and a bright light flew out in an instant. Boom! This shock wave directly hit those martial Taoists, so that they didn't even have the chance to speak again, and they were directly bombarded into debris. And all of this was broadcast to the world. As long as the audience was in front of the TV, they were shocked. A crazy guy actually killed people on TV. Shalu's behavior immediately attracted the attention of the governments of various countries. They sent the most elite troops to the venue of the #1 martial arts society in the world to prepare for the arrest of Shalu. A dozen helicopters and countless troops rushed in from all directions. They all surrounded the venue of the #1 martial arts club in the world and started a powerful attack. It's all a bunch of rubbish. They dare to attack me and seek death. Shalu said with a cold face. A powerful murderous aura burst out from him, and when his right hand condensed, a shock burst out in his hand. With the powerful light and shock wave, Sharu swept the powerful force around, and everywhere he passed, there were rumbling explosions. All the planes in the sky were knocked down and blown to pieces. The army and powerful heavy weapons on the ground were destroyed by Shalu in just an instant. No one can stop Sharu's destruction. He raised his hands and continuously bombarded a powerful shock wave. In this city, there were loud explosions all around, and the city fell into destruction in an instant. Everything around was razed to the ground in a short period of time. When the wind blew, not even the remnants of the ruins could be seen, only the yellow sand and the uneven potholes on the ground. Hey! At this moment, from the sky, there were bursts of flickering light, and there was a white spot of light that kept flying towards this side from a distance. Is there finally a strong man here? Sharu raised a sneer at the corner of his mouth, looking up at the sky. In that white light, there was a spaceship, and inside it was an arrogant Vegeta. At this time, he was still wearing a battle suit, but his aura was stronger than when he was with Yizan before. Much stronger. Yizan, now I finally understand how to transform into a Super Saiyan. Who will be stronger at that time? The corners of his mouth raised slightly, and Vegeta accelerated his speed towards Earth. Before he got to the Earth, Vegeta felt the super pressure from the ground. There was a top powerhouse on the ground, which made him startled. Could it be Yizan? Thinking of this, Vegeta accelerated the speed of the spaceship, flew over to the ground, and went directly to that position. Surrounded by yellow sand and deep depressions, as soon as Vegeta's spaceship came to the ground, the cabin was opened, and Vegeta, who was wearing a battle suit, came out with a very grim expression. The weird-looking Sharu showed a weird smile when he saw Vegeta coming down from the spaceship, and said with a smile, "You are from an alien planet, you seem to have some strength. Not bad, not bad." The other party's arrogant appearance made Vegeta very unhappy. After all, he was also the prince among the Saiyans. Now that he was mocked by an insect-like monster, he was naturally furious. "You bastard, if you want to give it a try, then go for it." Vegeta stared at Sharu with cold eyes. The powerful energy in her body was already flowing. Whoosh! In the sky, Yizan came quickly from a distance, skipped a ray of light in the air, and suspended directly above Vegeta and Sharu. 607 battle between Vegeta and Sharu was about to break out, and it did not continue. Yizan, who had Super Saiyan blood, finally realized that the battle was disturbed. Depressed, especially after encountering an evenly matched strong enemy, the feeling of being interrupted is more uncomfortable than being unplugged by a girlfriend while playing a game. On the ground, the city was leveled by Sharu, and now there are only uneven mountains. Vegeta and Sharu stood in the wild sand. The strong breath of the two people made the wind and sand thicker. Gia Gia, the breath on your body is really delicious. Shalu showed a weird smile, and the tail thorn behind him moved unconsciously, looking very greedy. Disgusting monster. Vegeta looked at Sharu coldly. Her body suddenly underwent a strong change, and in the blink of an eye, she disappeared in place. When Vegeta reappeared, he came to Sharu's back, kicked Fei and directly bombarded his neck. Sharu's eyes slanted to this side, and he caught Vegeta's movements and speed completely in his eyes. At a speed that was invisible to the naked eye, he raised his right hand, and the corner of his mouth raised a sneer. The strength is not bad. Chapter 95-Vegeta Supermatch is useless. Shish. With a flick of his right hand, a powerful light hit Vegeta's right leg, and a loud noise erupted, and a powerful shock wave of light exploded around him. Whoosh, whoosh. After stepping back, Vegeta tapped his right foot on the sand, and the man rushed over again, launching a powerful attack on Sharu. Ha, ha. Sharu also rushed forward quickly, and instantly confronted Vegeta. The powerful attack of the two caused the surrounding ground to be in a huge vibration, and it seemed that it would collapse at any time. Not far away, the camera was not turned off. Everything in it was clearly photographed. The battle between Vegeta and Sharu made everyone pale, and even suspected that human whether the body can have so much power, or the power of technology is not strong enough. Soon, Vegeta noticed Sharu's strength, and after being kicked away by him, he started looking for almost and transformed into a Super Saiyan. However, Sharu's attacks were very dense, so even if Vegeta wanted to find an opportunity to dodge, it was very difficult, as if he was trapped. Haha, your strength is only like that. I'll make you a part of my body later. Sharu laughed, and his right hand blasted a powerful shock wave. The next second, the spikes behind him also took the opportunity to fly. Going out, the automatic was stretched very far and stabbed at Vegeta. After fighting in the universe for so many years, Vegeta has never seen anything like this. Sharu's spikes are naturally the most dangerous. I would rather let that shockwave bombard than let his spikes succeed. Boom! Vegeta did not avoid the shockwave, but directly won, and used her body to block the shockwave. Whoosh! This shockwave slammed into Vegeta's body, blasting him out in an instant, flying backwards for hundreds of meters, and stopped after a long time. After pulling the distance, Shalu sneered, "Running so far, do you think you can escape from my hands?" "I never thought of running away," Vegeta replied indifferently, and a powerful momentum burst out from Vegeta's body in an instant. "Yeah," Vegeta shouted, the breath all over his body burst out from this moment, and his body also changed drastically in an instant, the surrounding aura, all quickly transformed into substantial golden breath. Not only that, the pupils, hair, and many places on Vegeta's body turned golden at the same time, and a powerful force burst out in an instant. What? Super Saiyan! Yizan, who was temporarily hidden in the sky, also happened to see this scene, and the expression on his face couldn't help but be a little surprised. And Sharu. At the beginning, he was also shocked by the powerful momentum released by Vegeta, but then, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and he muttered, "The stronger the strength, the more delicious it will be when swallowed, haha, I like it." Turning into a Super Saiyan, Vegeta's entire body's strength has reached a powerful level, and as soon as he flew directly in front, a white airflow was generated, which quickly generated behind him. Whoosh! Condensing a powerful force, Vegeta punched Sharu fiercely. That powerful force quickly flew out of the fist and went straight to Sharu's body to bombard, and the surrounding air also became a little distorted. "It's just right," Sharu shouted, and immediately dodged. He also flew out, facing Vegeta's attack. He displayed a powerful light ball, blocking himself in front of him. Boom! After a violent shock, Sharu was shocked and flew backwards. That powerful shock wave was also an explosion that was bombarded in an instant. In the billowing smoke, Sharu's figure was shrouded in it. Before the smoke cleared away, a golden figure rushed over from a distance with a very fast speed. Shish! Vegeta's figure rushed in front of Sharu in a short moment, launching a swift and powerful attack, which made Sharu struggle to resist and almost couldn't stand it. Whoosh! Fei kicked. Vegeta directly kicked Sharu hundreds of meters, then jumped and flew into the air. As soon as the hands condensed, a powerful breath burst out on Vegeta's body, and a powerful shock wave condensed in both hands, and attacked Sharu fiercely. Boom! The shock wave, like a light Jinchuriki column falling from the sky, directly slammed into Sharu's figure, making him want to avoid it, but he didn't have the chance. At the last, there was a violent shock, and Sharu was bombarded and invisible, and disappeared in this ray of light, and the gust of wind around him was constantly raging. Huh, are you dead at last? In mid-air, Vegeta let out a breath of turbid air. After fighting for so long, he really felt that Sharu was a formidable opponent. If it wasn't for Yizan, he would not be able to do so until now. Become a Super Saiyan. Crackling. At this moment, there was a strange sound from below the ground, and then a loud noise erupted from the uneven ground, and a figure rushed out of it quickly. Not good. At this moment, Vegeta's pupils suddenly tightened, staring at the figure rushing out of the ground. Not only did Sharu not die, but he flew out of the hole easily, and his appearance had changed a bit at this time, which was very different from before. The current Sharu's body seems to have evolved, the two wings have become very small, and the head begins to gradually form the appearance of a helmet, and a powerful force erupts from his body. Bastard, come down! Sharu suddenly raised his right hand, and an incomparable hurricane erupted from Sharu's hand, sweeping towards Vegeta in midair. Whoosh! In an instant, Vegeta was sucked and flew down. Even Vegeta was shocked. His Super Saiyan power was unable to stop his attack. Kneeling and begging the handsome guy to support my new book, Martial Arts. Chapter 96 _ It's my turn. Shoo! At the moment Vegeta fell, the spike behind Sharu suddenly rushed out and stabbed it into Vegeta's neck. Damn! Vegeta bit Kiba, and with the last bit of strength, twisted his neck and dodged to the side. The thorn did not stab his neck, but stabbed into Vegeta's arm of the tower. But even so, the intense pain still caused Vegeta to scream. Hey, your power belongs to me. A sneer appeared on Sharu's face, and the thorn began to absorb the power of Vegeta continuously. Absorbing powerful power, Sharu's body and shape began to undergo subtle changes again. Hey! At this moment, a powerful light suddenly flew down from the sky, turned into a gallop, fell directly on Sharu's body, and charged down at his spikes. The slashing speed of this ray of light was very fast. Sharu had no room to react at all, and was hit on the spikes 103. The spikes on his body were also cut off, and a burst of green blood spurted out. Ah, damn it! Shalu suddenly screamed. His body quickly backed back, and took several steps in a row. The painful feeling made the expression on his face become hideous. Whoosh! And when Vegeta was about to land, he was caught by a figure that fell from the sky and put it firmly on the ground. Vegeta felt that the power in his body was smashing wildly, but this second, he regained his freedom, and he couldn't help but look at the person who saved him, and suddenly he couldn't help exclaiming, Yizan. But after saying this, Vegeta realized that she seemed to have said something wrong, and quickly shut her mouth. Now that he is Yizan's subordinate, it seems a little bad to call Yizan's name. But Yizan didn't care about this either. His eyes were already staring at Shalu on the opposite side. He could see clearly in the battle just now. Shalu in this form is relatively easy to deal with, but he can evolve into several advanced states. Sharu, that is a formidable opponent. Hokage, Hokage. Shalu gasped for a few breaths, and looked at Yizan with a cold face. The pain from the tail still made him unable to forget, and after flicking the tail a few times, the wound had stopped bleeding. No one has ever dared to hurt me like this. You are the first, and I will kill you miserably. Sharu made a low voice from his throat, and an invisible momentum burst out quickly. Within a few hundred meters, they were shrouded in Sharu's aura, and everything seemed to be under his control. The mad sand kept surging. Shalu's face changed. He looked at Yizan, and laughed a few times. The breath on your body is also very good. Absorb it, it must be more perfect. Then see if you have this chance. Yizan sneered, the current Shalu has not evolved to the strongest form, and he still has a chance to kill him instantly. Super Saiyan form. The gust of wind around Yizan's body instantly condensed onto Yizan's body, and a powerful golden aura suddenly erupted. In an instant, Yizan became a Super Saiyan. Every cell in his body was exuding a belligerent aura. As long as he moved, that powerful aura would be swept out. It's another golden warrior. Hee, it turns out that you two are of the same race. The smug smile on Shalu's face became even thicker. What he needed was the power of those strong men. Say, the better. Ziz. He suddenly waved his right hand, and Sharu's body burst out with a strong light, which turned into a shock wave, and went straight to Yizan's body, and the air was instantly impacted by a whirlwind. It's good to come. Yizan pushed with both hands, and another shock wave broke out and flew out, and Sharu's attack came a confrontation. The strength of the two people is very strong, but Shalu's chi seems to be a little worse than Yizan's. The attack was blown up by Yizan, and the powerful aftermath caused him to go back several steps. However, Sharu did not panic, but continued to charge forward. The power exploded several times in an instant, and the power gathered on the right arm, making the entire right arm swell a lot. Drink. That powerful right arm, the powerful burst of power, directly became several rays of light, scattered into the air, and turned into many shock waves, like a giant net, rushing towards Yizan. Those powerful shock waves, all wrapped in white threads, gathered around Yizan to serve, tried their best to close it inside, and tightly wrapped Yizan inside. At first, Yizan thought it was just a shock wave attack. He originally wanted to use strength to resist, but in the end he never expected that it was a net. In an instant, Yizan was tightly entangled by the giant net, and it was very difficult to move his body. What is this? Let me go. Yizan was rolled into a stick. The strength in his body couldn't hold up the white net at all, but he could still feel that the strength of his body, when it was released, it was absorbed by the giant net. It's useless. Shalu fell to the ground, sneered at Yizan, and then said, this slime net is made by my liquid, it has the property of me absorbing power, you are in it. Unable to move, the power will be absorbed little by little, until finally, the power of your whole body is exhausted and you become a dead person. Quote. Beat the dog. Yizan looked at the big net and was a little disgusted, but now the most important thing is to find a way to get out of this white net. After struggling a few times, Yizan found that he still couldn't break the net. It's useless, now it's my turn, let me teach you how to deal with a weak person. Shaking his neck, Sharu's shoulders made a crackling sound, and slowly walked towards Yizan past. Please support my new book, Martial Arts, Sister-in-Law. Chapter 97_Second Order State. Raising a hand, Sharu's whole body's strength gathered in the past, and then with a low shout, he smashed Yizan fiercely, and immediately smashed Yizan out. This most primitive and powerful attack caused Yizan's body to endure great pain, and now he is like an ordinary person. Whoosh! Sharu stepped on the ground with his right foot, his body speeded up, caught up with Yizan, and launched a continuous attack on him. Bang! Bang! In mid-air, there were violent noises that could only be heard. Yizan suffered Sharu's attack, and he was beaten up and down in the air. In the end, Yizan was bombarded into the air. Shalu flew to the upper air, condensed a shock wave with both hands, swiped down fiercely, charged directly on Yizan's body, smashed him to the ground, and suddenly a shock wave broke out. Huge deep pit. Vegeta, who was not far away, wanted to attack Sharu, but the opponent still threw out a huge white net with one hand, which directly stuck to Vegeta's body, making it difficult for him to move. On the ground, the deep pit that Yizan smashed out kept cracking around, and the imprints became very clear, and the gust of wind blew all around. Unable to use his strength, Yizan endured a huge attack, took a few breaths, and stood up slowly from the ground. His inner anger finally reached its peak. How long has it been since you encountered such a situation? Is it too long? Yizan's mouth cracked into a terrifying smile. That's right, that's how it feels to be fighting. Whoosh! Xiaolu fell from the air, looked at the injured Yizan, and sneered, Yo-yo, are you angry now? Just based on your strength, you want to fight me? It's far from you. Quote. Spreading his arms, Xiaolu shouted, from now on, the power in my body is all mine. Really, the real battle has just begun. Yizan best sneered, and the momentum all over his body became very powerful in an instant. What? Aware of the change in Yizan's aura, Xiaolu's face changed, and his eyes only stared at Yizan. Hoo-hoo! The gust of wind spun around Yizan's feet, turned into a powerful force, and poured into Yizan's body. The form of the Super Saiyan also underwent tremendous changes. Ha ha ha! Yizan laughed arrogantly, bursting out the power in his body at this moment, instantly changing from the first-order state of a Super Saiyan to the second-order state. And the white net that can absorb power emits a strong UV light, and the absorbed energy exceeds the load and explodes suddenly, becoming countless fragments and dissipating around. Shoo! In the second-order state of the Super Saiyan, Yizan's strength has gained a qualitative increase, and the powerful momentum has turned the surrounding world around him and began to spin continuously. Extending a finger, Yizan flicked forward, and a powerful force suddenly turned into a ray of light, which flew out of his hand, turned into a strong ray of light, and rushed in front of Xiaolu. As the speed of the light became faster and faster, Xiaolu's expression became more and more ugly. He felt that he could not dodge this attack at all, and was completely locked on the target. Boom! That powerful ray of light exploded, bombarding Xiaolu's body, sending him flying into the distance. Hey! Yizan chased after him non-stop, and launched an attack again. The second-order Super Saiyan state, with the chi in his body now, can last for too long. Moreover, the current Xiaolu has not evolved to its final form. If Xiaolu is allowed to evolve, Yizan can't really guess what it will become in the end, but the only thing that is certain is that in the end will definitely be more pervert. The breath condensed in Yizan's hand, and the powerful force had already changed. Yizan snorted every word. Turtle School Qigong Wave. Whoosh! With a strong light rushing out, the light shining in the world turned into a shock wave and burst out from Yizan's hands. The target chased Xiaolu and enveloped him in it. Ah! Facing such a powerful attack, Xiaolu's face became extremely ugly, and his body began to tremble violently. But after the tremor, Xiaolu's face became extremely gloomy, and before the shock wave arrived, he let out a final roar. Absorb! Suddenly, Xiaolu opened his mouth, and the skin of his body also emitted a powerful light, as if there were a lot of light spots, bulging on Xiaolu's body. What Yizan never imagined was that after Xiaolu opened his mouth, the powerful turtle Qigong wave was swallowed by him. The power flowed into Xiaolu's body like the flowing Izumi water, and the rays of light also poured in. In just a short moment, Xiaolu swallowed this powerful attack. Guru! In the end, Xiaolu's throat shook a few times, and the powerful shockwave was swallowed by him and became a big meal. This blow to Yizan took a lot of power, but he didn't expect it to be given to Xiaolu, and it became his nourishment, which made Yizan a little unhappy, wondering if he should get some sage art chakra for Xiaolu to swallow. At this time, Xiaolu, after swallowing this shock wave, patted his chubby belly, with a smug smile on his face. I thought I couldn't use this move now, but I didn't expect it to be possible, haha. After he finished speaking, Xiaolu stepped back suddenly, opened his mouth wide, took in a breath of air, and then spit it out in front of him. All the huge force burst out. The shock wave that was swallowed unexpectedly returned from Xiaolu's stomach, and it also added more powerful strength, making Yi Xuandu's complexion change. In desperation, Yizan subconsciously used the most familiar fighting method, chakra. Rinnegan instantly appeared in Yizan's eyes, and the Hungry Ghost Dao ability was activated instantly. Fathers, please support my new book, Martial Arts. Chapter-81-Invincible Xiaolu. Powerful power filled this world, but the huge power was cut off in front of Yizan, and the terrifying power was swallowed by Yizan in an instant. Everyone stared blankly at the powerful force absorbed by Yizan, and their eyes widened in disbelief. Boom! After a loud bang, the aftermath of the battle actually caused the entire space to be affected by a huge explosion within a radius of several thousand meters. The sand flew wildly, and several cracks burst on the ground. The raging wind and black clouds that covered the sky made everything here fall into a scene like the end of the world. The deep hole that was impacted by the ground slowly disappeared after an unknown amount of time. Damn, how could this be? Xiaolu flew over from a distance and landed in front of Yizan, speaking in disbelief. Yizan showed a sneer. You are not my opponent, naturally you can't beat me. Humph, is that so? Xiaolu fell in front of Yizan, and laughed awkwardly. Do you think I can only absorb power through my tail? You are wrong, every cell in my body, all can absorb powerful forces, so in this universe, I am invincible. Quote. Xiaolu laughed wildly. Every cell in his body seemed to be surging at this time, and some strange changes had taken place in his body. A strange light burst out from Xiaolu's body. Jack was so far away that he could feel that the power in his body was disappearing little by little, and he rushed towards Xiaolu's body at a visible speed. Past. It didn't take long for Xiaolu's body to become a lot stronger, and it seemed to be full of power. Not only that, even Vegeta in the distance, Xiaolu did not let go, using the strength of his body, also automatically pulled out. Being able to absorb the opponent's power into his own body, and then convert it into his own power, such a thing, only Xiaolu can do in the world of Dragon Ball. He is like a huge container. After absorbing all the power, then allow yourself to use. Brother Yizan, I am here. At this time, from a distance, a figure flew over and charged directly towards Yizan. Before Xiaolu looked back, he noticed the breath coming from behind him, and was about to turn around to attack, but he couldn't help but glance at Yizan, and found that a strong breath had begun to condense in his hands. When he stopped, Xiaolu did not deal with the person behind him, because he knew that the guy who came was not on the same level as Yizan in front of him. Don't care too much. It wasn't anyone else who came. It was Wukong. He came from afar, and he was in a state of embarrassment, as if he had gone to fight somewhere. Wukong, wearing clothes with the characteristics of a turtle immortal, landed next to Yizan, carrying a bag in his hand, and seeing Yizan who was seriously injured, he quickly said, Brother Yizan, what's wrong with you, who beat you like this? Just looking at the bag in Wukong's hand, Yizan knew that the bag contained should be Dragon Balls, but it is very dangerous here, and if Wukong flows down, there is only a dead end. Wukong, get out of here, hurry up, Yizan said quickly. But the other party didn't do as he said, hanging the bag in his hand to his waist. Then Wukong turned to look at Xiaolu and said, Did you hurt Brother Yizan, you hateful guy? Wukong's combat power, in Xiaolu's view, is really too weak, and since he is not too old, he looks like a little devil. Xiaolu didn't pay attention to it at all, sneered. Yes again, well, are you trying to avenge him? Shoo! Wukong took out the wish-fulfilling stick from behind, twirled it in his hand a few times, then aimed at Xiaolu and shouted, You nasty guy, let me deal with you. Ha ha, deal with me. Xiaolu stared at Wukong and laughed as if he had heard the funniest joke, then gave him a contemptuous look, and said, A kid like you, I can use any hand I want. You can easily crush you to death, just because you still want to deal with me. Yeah, Wukong didn't pay attention to so much. He is a person who can fight. As long as he decides something, he will act immediately. The wish-fulfilling stick in his hand spun out a ball of light, and then he smashed the wish-fulfilling stick on Xiaolu's body. It's just that Xiaolu's strength is not something Wukong can imagine. When Wukong was about to attack Xiaolu, he just raised his finger slightly, and then flicked the fingertip. A ray of light was emitted, which directly hit Wukong on the body. Ah! Wukong shouted. The whole person flew out in an instant, and flew back hundreds of meters. His body was very painful. It hurts. Holding his head, Wukong screamed while sitting on the ground. Even if he wanted to fight Xiaolu, with his strength, it was impossible now. Xiaolu didn't even look at Wukong. He looked directly in front of Yizan and walked over, staring at Yizan and sneered. The strength here is that you are stronger, now I want to absorb all your strength. Drop. If you can do it, then come. Yizan raised his head, and a powerful aura instantly radiated 4.5 from his body. Standing up slowly, Yizan was filled with the aura of a strong man all over his body, ready to burst out at any time. Hula. From behind Yizan, a strong light suddenly appeared, and the power burst out instantly. Seeing that Yizan's body had undergone such a change, Shalu was also a little surprised, stared at Yizan and said, "You are still resisting, but no matter how strong you are, all your strength is still it will eventually be plundered, because in this world, only one strong person is allowed to exist, and that will be me." The powerful aura of the ancient times erupted from Yizan's body, and the surrounding air sank into several deep depressions, and the ground under his feet was constantly cracking. Chapter 99 _____. Ha ha. Shalu laughed loudly. The stronger the power Yizan displayed, the more refreshing it would be for him. Those powers passed directly through the air and were within his control. All were absorbed into Sharu's body. After accumulating powerful power, Sharu laughed, and the surging power burst out instantly, as if to destroy everything in front of him. Whoosh! Yizan jumped, rushed out quickly, and quickly attacked Shalu, with a very powerful attack. At this time, Sharu's strength has also reached a very strong point. After colliding with Yizan, the two started a powerful battle. The surrounding air and ground were constantly exploding with the powerful aura they exuded, and there were also loud noises that suddenly exploded around. The camera in the distance can only hear the sound, but can't see the person. The battle between Yizan and Sharu is too fast, and even the camera can't capture the movements of Yizan and Sharu. High in the sky, Yizan and Sharu banged each other, producing an extremely loud explosion, and then both of them were shaken away by the powerful force. A flash of light came out. Yizan retreated to the back, stared at Shalu opposite, couldn't help gasping for a few breaths, and his eyes became dignified. Sharu's power seems to be beyond his imagination. This guy will always have inexhaustible power, and once he is about to run out, he will start to absorb the power he needs on the opponent's body. Compared with the original book, this Sharu seems to be more intelligent, not as greedy as imagined, and will do anything for power. High in the sky, Sharu stood against the wind. Compared with Yizan, he seemed much more relaxed, with his arms still clasped together, staring at Yizan with a sneer. In the next second, I'm going to send you to hell. Sharu raised his right hand, and slowly condensed a strong light, and the power in all directions also emerged in Sharu's hands at this moment. The violent power makes everything around it become very bright, and an incomparably huge light illuminates everything around it, and the air seems to be condensed together. Whoosh! Shalu instantly threw the attack in his hand violently, turning it into a shock wave streamer, and bombarded Yizan. With such a powerful force, Yizan has almost no strength to resist, and most of the power in his body has been plundered by Shalu. He clearly felt that this Sharu was difficult to deal with. Unlike in the original book, he used a powerful force to fill his entire body, and then he couldn't bear the influx of power and blew himself to death. This Sharu in front of him can control the intake of power, and he will not let himself be easily conquered by powerful power, nor will he use his life to make jokes. After the strength reaches the Chengdu that can bear, he will not take it again. Strength. It's very tricky. Yizan's face also showed a dignified color. If he didn't want to make his chi stronger, Yizan really wanted to use Sage Art Chakra to let Shalu know that energy has you can't eat indiscriminately. Shoo! Just as Sharu's attack was about to fly over, a blue air slash flew from a distance and flew directly in front of Yizan. Boom! That powerful air slash directly collided with Sharu's attack, and a loud noise broke out, cutting Sharu's attack directly. After being stopped and attacked, Sharu's face was naturally very ugly, as if rays of light were shooting out of his eyes. He looked into the distance. I saw that not far from Yizan and Shalu, a woman's figure slowly flew up, floating in the air, not moving at all. Number 18. Yizan couldn't help but be slightly surprised when he saw the person coming. He didn't expect to come here, and the one who saved him at a critical time turned out to be the android number 18. Sharu also knew number 18. When he was stored in the laboratory before, he had been observing number 17 and number 18. The powerful powers of the two of them were also coveted by Sharu, and now number 17 has been taken by him. After it is absorbed, it is naturally the best to be able to absorb number 18 again. Even though he has absorbed powerful power from Yizan's body, he still knows how terrifying and enormous the power of number 17 will be if combined with number 18. Jia Jia. After sneering a few times, Shalu stared at number 18 and said, "Did you also come here to die? Give me all your power, and I will let it show its most powerful light, haha." No, 18 feet's face was cold as he stared at Shalu and said, "I'm here for revenge." After saying a word, the powerful strength of number 18 burst out from around her body, the wind raged, and the combat power also rose in an instant. 703. Previous conflicts between Yizan and number 18 are not so important now, and now they all have a common enemy, that is Sharu. Seeing that number 18 feet's power was getting stronger, Sharu was not too surprised, just looked at him coldly, very calm, the expression on his face, but Wade didn't change at all. After exerting his strength to the strongest, number 18 slapped the front fiercely, and a dazzling light suddenly flew out, rushing towards Sharu. When the powerful light was about to reach Sharu, Sharu suddenly opened his mouth wide, and directly swallowed the attack of number 18 into his stomach. Guru. After swallowing number 18 feet's attack, Shalu showed a sneer at the corner of his mouth, smashing his mouth a few times, as if he had eaten something delicious. Staring at number 18, Shalu smiled strangely. "Are there any other powerful moves? Use them all, and let me see them too." No, 18 is not a fool. As soon as he played against Shalu, he realized that something was wrong. The ultimate move that he bombarded could be eaten by Shalu, and he would not leave any residue behind. Chapter 100_Vitality Bomb. Facing such an opponent, one cannot just attack with Qigong waves. The best way is to fight him in close quarters. Whoosh. After analyzing these reasons, number 18 rushed forward quickly, flew to Sharu, and launched a strong attack on him. Sharu's strength is very strong. Even if he fought against number 18, he did not lose. However, number 18 thought that Sharu was just a monster and might not be very strong in melee combat, so he chose this fighting method, but it didn't take long. She realized that everything was wrong. Whoosh, whoosh. The battle between the two became more and more intense, and on the 18th, she noticed that the strength in her body was also dissipating little by little, as if it had been sucked away by someone. After fighting for a while, number 18 was easily suppressed by Shalu. The opponent's powerful attack directly threw number 18 onto the ground, making a loud noise. Flying and floating, Shalu slowly came to number 18 and Yizan, looking at the two who had been shot down by him, a sneer raised at the corners of his mouth, and said, "Just the two of you, if you want to beat me, it's just courting death. Now I want to kill you as easily as pinching an ant." Having said that, Shalu has raised his hand, ready to give number 18 and Yizan the final blow. The powerful force has been condensed in his hand. "Hee, do you think you're sure to win?" Suddenly, Yizan's voice rang out, and he slowly floated into the air, standing on the opposite side of Sharu. "You still want to fight with me? What a whimsical guy." Although Shalu was a little surprised by Yizan's strength, more importantly, he recognized his own strength. Flying into the air, Yizan did not rush to take action, but said, "Sharu, this is the earth, and you are destroying the homes of the earthlings. I believe that every earthling will want to expel you. So what, can they do anything to me?" Sharu's arrogant sneer spread around, then narrowed his eyes, and said in a very cold voice, "Tell you, I will kill everyone the earthlings, I'm going to rush into the universe and destroy everything, ha ha ha." All of this was recorded clearly by the camera in the distance, so that the earthlings sitting in front of the TV could see it clearly. At the same time, they were even more worried about Sharu. That person was afraid of death, and even the people of the earth. Life was short, and the fighting power was not strong. Therefore, for a while, everyone expressed their hatred for Sharu, and everyone hoped that Yizan could defeat Sharu and protect the peace of the earth. Ha ha, ha ha ha, Yizan suddenly laughed. The momentum on his body was slowly increasing. What are you laughing at? Shalu muttered to Yizan a little weirdly. This was the first time he felt that there was something wrong with Yizan's body. Suddenly, Yizan raised his hands, as if his palms were supporting the sky, and a little bit of light energy began to gather over Yizan's palms. Sharu, let you see the anger and power of all the people on earth. Yizan shouted, the vitality bomb, release. In just a few short breaths, in all directions of Yizan, white light slowly flew over, bit by bit, all condensed above Yizan's palm. Such power is very huge. The belief of everyone on the earth is a force that can be collected by Yizan, and it is precisely because of this that Yizan saved this powerful blow to the end. Looking in all directions, those little dots of light all flocked to Yizan's palms, and the light gradually turned into a ball of light, and it was very powerful. Feeling the unusual power in the vitality bullet, Sharu's face changed slightly, and the corner of his mouth became cold, and said, do you think I will be so easy to let you complete the collection of this power? After finishing speaking, a powerful ray of light condensed in Shalu's hand, and the power instantly became a shock, and he slapped Yizan's body fiercely. Such a powerful force made it difficult to avoid. Moreover, Yizan was collecting the original gas bombs at this time, and he could not be easily distracted and his strength could not be dispersed, otherwise, everything would be in vain. Damn, Yizan clenched Kiba secretly, but was not ready to resist this blow. Yizan had long thought of how to use the vitality bomb. When gathering the vitality bomb, use time-space ninjutsu or Haraishin and the like. Ninjutsu, this kind of ninjutsu can definitely dodge attacks with ease. Die. In the blink of an eye, Shalu's attack was in front of Yizan. Seeing that Yizan could not resist, Shalu also increased the attack effect of his strength, preparing to give Yizan a fatal blow. Boom! To be exact, that shock wave exploded right at Yizan's place, and a burst of light and smoke that shot up into the sky quickly dissipated around, and the fiery aura rushing out from the center was hard to resist. There was a sneer at the corner of Sharu's mouth. With this blow, Yizan would definitely not be able to dodge it. Once he missed it, it would be almost impossible to complete the gathering of that power again. However, after the smoke dissipated, Shalu widened his eyes, looked in Yizan's direction, and murmured, how is this possible? I saw that there were 3 figures in front of Yizan, blocking his attack and protecting Yizan behind him. The powerful shock wave just now did not hurt Yizan. It was Vegeta, number 18, and Wukong who blocked this powerful blow. The 3 of them flew in front of Yizan and exploded with a hard blow. But even if the 3 of them joined forces, they were only able to block Sharu's blow. The powerful force made the 3 of them almost vomit blood. Looking at Sharu coldly, Vegeta said, my pride, Prince Vegeta, will not allow you to step past me. Yizan turned over a Byakugan speechlessly. He was ready to resist the attack, and it ended up like this.